I connected to the quantum field of all possibilities, and I said, the possibility that I am opening myself up to only is wholeness. Whether that wholeness means this person is going to walk off the set or meet me in respect and devotion. Welcome to the Toranj Show. My name is Toranj Kayvon, and today I'm going to talk to you about how we can access our truest, most powerful selves. And to kick it off, I'm going to share it with one of the most pivotal stories of my personal journey. As many of you know, I am a photographer. I spent many years behind a camera photographing for some of the biggest magazines, photographing some of the biggest celebrities in the world. During my journey, there were people that I truly wanted to collaborate with and work with in the industry. And I had my eyes set on this one person in the industry whose work I loved. Now, I'm not going to tell you her position exactly, but she was a big deal. And one day I got a call for a photo shoot, a televised photo shoot, in which I would be on camera doing a photo shoot, and this woman that I dreamt of working with was going to be a part of that project. And I braced myself. I said, this is going to be one of the most pivotal moments of my career. My dream is coming true. And that morning I woke up knowing that this was going to be one of the best days of my life. I showed up to set, and there she was. And as I approached her and she turned around and faced me, I realized that the woman that I was looking so forward to collaborating with did not want me there. And in that moment, my heart sank. She was so dismissive that behind her, the production started mouthing apologies to me. They were literally saying, "I'm so sorry." And I felt my nervous system kick into fight or flight. And I took myself into the washroom and I said, Toranj, if you want to crumble right now, if you want to run away, it's totally understandable. You have that choice. But you also have another choice. And I remembered these words by one of the greatest teachers on our planet, Abraham Hicks. And the words are, one person who is aligned is more powerful than millions who are not. We've all heard the word aligned. What does the word aligned actually mean? Alignment is congruence with who we really are. It is an abandonment of the ego self and coherence and calibration to the true essence of us. When I say ego, I'm not talking about a typical picture that we have of someone who's egotistical and believes that they're superior. Ego is any notion that is grounded in an idea of a false self. So a self that is fearful, a self that is acting in compensation to fill a void, a self that is not aware of its worthiness unconditionally or aware of other people's unconditional worth. That is ego. Any false sense of self is ego. And the opposite of ego is authenticity. Authenticity is not tethered to an external I. Authenticity is tethered to an internal I and an internal experience. And the way that you know you are tethered to that internal I is the way that it feels. It feels like flow. It feels like joy. It feels like access to our power. And so in the moment that I was looking in the mirror, I asked myself, Toranj, are you ready to be that aligned version of yourself, connected to the wholeness of you? And in that moment, what did that wholeness mean? What did that wholeness look like? That wholeness meant I was going to tether myself not to her idea of me, not to her judgment of me, not to my judgment of how she's judging me, not to my limited self-experience, unworthiness, self-doubt, or her doubt of me, but rather I was going to devote my energy, my focus to my work, to my craft, to my love of serving through photography. And I looked at myself in my eyes and I said, one person who is aligned is more powerful than millions who are not. And in this moment, I choose to be aligned to all that I am, to who I truly, truly am. And I stepped out of there with this knowing that no matter what happens on that set, I will stay in my wholeness. No matter how much people experience fragmentation around me, and when I say fragmentation, I mean we are whole. It is our awareness that becomes fragmented. When we have fragmented awareness, we see ourselves and other as the ego self, as in the false self. So no matter what fragmented view is going to be displayed outside of me, I am going to stay calibrated to my wholeness. And I got on that set and I started to shoot, and I was just flowing. Everything was flowing perfectly for me. My light, I don't know if you know this, but when photographers get prepared for a shoot, there's light tests that we do, and it takes a while. But my light test just landed perfectly. I mean, and in the first go, I will never forget that moment. In the first go, the way I set up my lights, it just turned out beautifully. I was like, okay, well, this test process turned out very, very smoothly. I love this look. Next. And as we started to shoot, and as the camera crew started to film me shooting, what started to happen is this woman stepped into a role that was actually mine. So very gently and respectfully, because that's where I was. I was in a vibration of respect for myself and devotion to the craft and respect for the craft. And very respectfully, I said to her, because I'm behind the camera, this is something that I need to guide. This is something that I need to direct. And she very respectfully responded to my vibration and stepped back. And the photo shoot continued while the film crew filmed us. And soon, between takes, between cut and action, this woman started to adjust my clothing to make sure I look good for the camera. Can you believe that? The energy completely shifted because I decided to calibrate myself to wholeness. I connected to the quantum field of all possibilities, and I said the possibility that I am opening myself up to only is wholeness. Whether that wholeness means this person is going to walk off the set or meet me in respect and devotion. And she did. She met me in respect and devotion because I did not succumb to ego. I didn't succumb to limited ideas of myself, judgment of myself, her judgment of me, or my judgment of her not loving me. I didn't go into people pleasing. I didn't go into wanting validation, and I didn't go into responding from fragmentation, meaning feeling inferior and puffing up and acting in response to balance that feeling of lack that I was experiencing. I didn't experience lack. I stepped into abundance. I stepped into wholeness. Now, this brings me to quantum physics and the double slit experiment that revealed the observer effect. Physicists took a barrier with 2 slits in it and a detection screen behind it. And what they did was they emitted photons and electrons towards this barrier. And when they were not observing this process of emission, the particles acted in superposition, meaning they existed as both a wave and matter, a particle. And the reason they know that is because of the interference pattern that they saw on the detection screen. Now, the moment they introduced a measuring device to observe the particles, these particles no longer acted as potential energy, meaning before they were being observed, they went through both slits at the same time. And I know that sounds trippy, but that just means that they acted as waves. They acted as waves of potential. They didn't choose a slit. So if you took a marble and threw it at 2 slits, it would choose one or the other. However, these particles did not act as particles and instead acted as waves and went through both, because they stayed in potential energy. The moment, however, they were observed, meaning a measuring device was introduced, this potential energy collapsed into matter, meaning these particles chose a slit to enter. Let's take a moment here and pause. What does that mean for us? That means that as humans, as a conscious observer, we are both an observer, and we are also matter. So what does that mean? That means you affect the way that you experience reality through the way that you observe self. And so if you are observing self through ego, through the limited lens of ego conditioning, then you are going to collapse potential energy into reality that is limited. You will stay in limitation. And the moment you transcend your own limited ideas of yourself is when you have access to your wholeness. Now, this is alignment. This is truth. This is transcendence. Now, some of you also know that I'm an actor. And something that I observed in my acting career was this. When I would get an audition and I was required to do the audition at home, meaning self-tape it, I was very much in alignment. But the moment I got a call back and I entered a room where I was being observed, I would lose that connection that made them call me in the first place. And I started to wonder, why is it that I am losing these callbacks? What is happening? What is the difference between when I am at home and I am recording my audition versus when I am in a callback and somebody is observing me? What I understood was when I am being observed, my observation of self becomes split. So I am no longer in authenticity and flow, but rather I am splitting my awareness between me and my judgment of how the other is perceiving me. And is this good enough? Is this what you like? Rather than radiating, because this is what happens with great performance. What happens is rather than the room affecting the actor radiates and affects the room. But they can only do that if they are in a state of nervous system coherence and alignment with authentic self, so not ego self. And the practice here for actors actually is being in a nervous system state that is regulated so that they have access to their skills and fullness and intuition. This is also relevant to you if you are not an actor, because when we are in a nervous system state that is regulated, we actually have access to knowledge that we already have, and we have access to the potential of the field because we're not in limited fragmented awareness, but we are open. And the key to that is the nervous system. And let me illustrate this through telling you what I experienced when I was in high school. I had anxiety during tests, and I went and saw a neurologist. And this neurologist gave me something called a CES unit. And I believe CES stands for cranial electrotherapy stimulation. Yes, cranial electrotherapy stimulation. So he gave me this device. And what he told me is this is going to emit a very low frequency electric current through my ears. So I would clip it onto my ears. And he said it will relax your body so that you can access the answers you already have. And this is genius, because what this unit did was it would help put me in alpha brainwave states, and it would help me regulate my nervous system so that my energy field stayed open and I would have access to more of what I studied, rather than going into limited self and ego and fear and what if, and blocking my own genius. Now, where did this deference to an external I even come from? This deference that created that dysregulation in me was a pattern that I was copying and pasting from my childhood. As a child, the relationship that I had with my primary caregiver was one of, please approve of me so that I may be worthy in your eyes. That was the relationship dynamic. And so what that created in me was a relational vibration of deferring to an external authority in order to experience my own worthiness. That means I would defer to something outside of me to experience what was already mine. And in doing so, I would actually lose access to my wholeness, because that wholeness no longer was me tethered to who I truly am, but tethered to a fragmented awareness and judgment of someone else judging who I am. Now, I want to share that the word God in Persian, in my first language, is Khuda. Now, whatever God means to you, it doesn't matter. It can mean source, it can mean nature, but God as the highest authority in Persian is actually two words put together, and it's Khud-ah, Khud-ah, which means to arrive at the self. In other words, the highest authority that exists, that which we call God, is arrival at the self, is authenticity, is what I refer to as energetic sovereignty. In essence, what energetic sovereignty is the ability to be connected and aligned to the wholeness of who we are without deferring to an external I, but being grounded in internal authority and an internal I. And it doesn't mean that we are not aware that an external I exists. It's just that we are not fragmenting our sense of self to that external I. We are no longer giving our permission slip to feel what already belongs to us, which is our worthiness, to the external gaze. Now, I'm going to demonstrate it by, again, talking about acting and performance, because I think it's a great way that we can all see how this plays out, because we all know cinema very well. We all know actors. If you have ever seen Sandra Oh perform, and I hope you have, because watching her perform is truly a gift. When Sandra Oh performs, and I was watching Grey's Anatomy, I noticed, I was like, wow, what makes her so magnetic to watch is when she performs, she is an event untethered to anything else. In the moment between action and cut, she is in her energetic sovereignty. She is in flow and receiving from a state that is calibrated internally, not externally, meaning she is not seeking validation in any way from an audience or a director. She is fully calibrated and devoted to her character and the moment. And that's why watching her is so magnetic. It literally brings tears to my eyes when I watch her perform because she is so damn good. She's so good. And what makes that magic is that she has this energetic sovereignty. She is not people pleasing in any way. She does not care if you approve of her. And that is the key to, I believe, true joy and success. Now, I want to talk about another kind of performance that is aware of the audience, but is also equally energetically sovereign. Of course, Meryl Streep. We all know Meryl Streep. She is also one of the greatest performers in the world. And when she performs, obviously, when she does a film like Sophie's Choice, she's fully grounded in the experience of the character. But there are also projects that she does where she is playing with the audience, like Death Becomes Her. I mean, just her mannerisms in that film, you can tell that she is aware of what audiences like. There's this playfulness where she's playing with you, but she's not tethered to your approval. Meaning she is still in an authentic state. She is aware of an external eye, but her worthiness or that energy difference is still internal. There's still operation from an internal gaze. Does that make sense? Meaning that there is no ego. There is no compensation. There is no fear. There is just flow. So what does all of this mean for you? All of this means that you can begin to understand that who you really are is not tethered to an external gaze. That the most powerful part of you and the part of you that is connected to all that is, because everything, every permutation, every possibility of your life, of you, every version of you exists in the quantum field, and you simply line up with it. And the more that you learn who you truly are, the more you release the ego self and you understand the true self and you start experiencing the true self, the more access you have to the field. Now, when I tell this to people, and I used to be the same way, I used to want access to full potential of the field so that I can manifest things and make things happen so that I would feel my worthiness, which is again, experiencing self through fragmentation. When you want to manifest in order to experience something so that you can connect to your worthiness, you actually never reach. You still might attain that thing, but you will still look for your worthiness, meaning you never truly make it. And one of the things that causes people to actually delay what they're truly seeking, which is actually joy, it is actually playfulness, it is actually fun, because everything that we seek, we want because it will give us joy to do so. And if you've listened to Abraham Hicks, you will hear her or them saying that everything that we want is because it gives us joy to have it. And so when you understand that the purpose of life is the joy, you stop chasing and you start allowing, because when we allow, when we are not in a fragmented idea of the self, meaning I need to get this in order to experience my worthiness, in order to receive an external applaud so that I can experience what already belongs to me, then you step into fullness. You step into wu-wei. Wu-wei is effortless action. It is the state of allowance. It is a state of awareness that you are already connected to all that you seek. And you must have heard the poem by Rumi, which is incorrectly translated in English. It's actually translated to "What you seek is seeking you." But in the original Persian, it is actually "That which you seek, you are." So when you realize you are already that which you seek, then there is no longer seeking. There is just allowing. If you'd like to work with me, you can visit theToranjShow.com, where I have group coaching called the I Am Circle, because I Am is the true name of God. It is the state of wholeness. It is a state of awareness being aware of itself. It is a state of allowance. You can join the I Am Circle, or you can apply to work with me one-on-one. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be honored to receive a like from you as well as a follow. And if you believe that this can uplift somebody else, please share it, because this is how we make the world a more uplifted and wonderful place to be in, and it will also help me get this message out to the world. Thank you so much for being here for this episode. I've had so much fun sharing this information with you, sharing this light with you, and may this light inspire something in you so that you radiate more, so that you no longer dim your light or split your light in the illusion of another observing you, but that you radiate fully in who you truly are.